What is up, guys? My name's Nate and this is Heavy Pedal Garage. Today is going to be the last video in this fiberglass repair series, and we are finally going to make this hood black. We're going to cover it up with epoxy primer, and hopefully it's going to look pretty good. A lot of work put into this hood. I've been working on it on and off for about a month and a half. I'm 100% positive it's not 100% correct yet, but you got to know when to call it. And at this point, I'm going to put some epoxy primer on there, and the epoxy primer that I'm using actually blocks out really well. So once we get to that point, we'll be able to see where all our little blemishes and minor imperfections are, and I'll go ahead and fix those up at that time. But thanks for stopping by. If you guys would please consider subscribing, check out this channel, the free content, follow along as we're building this Firebird, and let's get this thing put into primer. So the first thing I do when I'm getting ready to do some primering on a vehicle like this, I always like to spray it off with air really good first. Go ahead and take your air nozzle, spray it down. If you've done body work, make sure you hit it really close and check those body work areas for pinholes. The dust can lie down inside of those pinholes, so the air that you use can really blow those out. So pay particular attention when you're blowing off the hood. That's the first step. So the next thing I like to do is make sure that I wipe it down really good. Now you can use some dish soap and water or other type of cleaning product that's recommended for pre-paint prep, but I like to use Windex. I get it bulk from places like Sam's Club, and it seems to work really good. So I do a good first wipe down. As I'm going along, I'm checking my rag just to see if I'm getting a lot of residue or dirt. So really, to do it right, you want to keep going until you're not seeing anything show up on your rag that's of concern. So the next thing I like to do after that first initial clean off is go ahead and make sure my masking tape surfaces are going to be clean so that the tape sticks really nice, and get everything kind of protected. So we're going to lay some plastic down and protect the motor. Definitely don't want any overspray on that motor, and my core support's already painted and all that good stuff. So we'll get some plastic laid down and make sure everything is good to go. So now we're going to blow it off again, just because there's probably some dust and stuff that came off that plastic. So we're going to wipe it off one more time here. This time I'm going to use acetone. You can use paint thinner, acetone, wax and grease remover. Just be careful with whatever you use. The last steps right here before primer is going to actually be to use a tack rag. When you use a tack rag, you want to kind of spread it apart and ball it up just slightly. You don't want to use it all folded up. And when you rub it on here, you don't want to use a lot of pressure because it'll take the tack off the rag. All you're doing is lightly buffing it, trying to pick up some of the dust. So I use air in the tack rag and get it ready. Okay, so now's the part where I get my gun all ready, mix up some primer. If you guys want to see how that's done, I'm using this PPG CRE primer. Go back and check out the previous video where I kind of talk about my experience with this stuff. It is really good. I do like it a lot. So we'll get the primer mixed up. I put my hat on because it's kind of hot outside and I don't want to drip sweat. So we'll get it mixed up, get my gun all tuned up, and then I'll cut you back and show you the paint going down on this thing. So you guys probably noticed in that footage of me shooting that primer down that it was a little bit windy. Of course, it was a very calm morning. Everything was just fine, but it seems like as soon as I started to spray, we got some wind. But I got some trash out of it. You know, that wind just blew some stuff in here. I think that'll block out pretty easy. So along with everything else, I'm really not that worried about these little nibs in here. It's just how it goes, I guess. You know, you strive for milestones, you push really hard to try to get to a certain spot, and sometimes you hit that milestone and it's just not exactly what you think it's going to be. I was really hoping that I wouldn't have as many blemishes and issues with this thing after the primer, but you know what? It's okay. You can't let it get you down. You can't let it disappoint you. It's just, you know, one more step in the process. We're one more step closer. This isn't anything that I can't overcome. I kind of expected it a little bit. So, you know, when you guys strive for your milestones and stuff, just set those goals and try to reach them. And if you can't quite get there as fast as you think, or it's not quite exactly turning out how you want, just take it in stride and keep on keeping on. You know, if we're not moving, our cars won't be either. So just keep your head up and make her happen. I mean, I could not be more happy with how each of these turned out. And the gaps and the height differences that I was dealing with, they've all flushed out. That was kind of the main goal here, was to get the rough work on this thing done. So the corners are good, the gaps are good, the height of the hood is good. It doesn't have that traditional formy flare where it humps up. And you know, when we block it out, it'll come out good. So now that the hood's, it's not done, but we got it further along, I'm wondering what to do next. So I got to thinking about it, and this whole car has been gone over, and it's all black except for the bumper. So I think what I might do, you guys are going to want to stick around. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe so you can follow this along. But the next video, I'm going to cut this open and bring this back a little bit to make my gap just right. Like I said in earlier videos, go back and check them out. This car was wrecked and this side of the fender was all smashed in, and I ended up taking the brace out of the inside of the fender and pounding it out. So I knew I was going to have to do some work over here, so we'll probably clean that up a little bit. And then this lower valance is going to need some effort to get that to match. The other side matches pretty good, but this side needs some work. So that's probably going to be the next deal. We'll work on the metal and get the valance fit up right. Get that fender tuned up. And then you guys are really going to want to stick around for when I do this Endura bumper. It's not something you see a whole lot of, and I've searched YouTube time and time again, and there's really not a lot of good information on Endura repair. And I've kind of collected everything I can and have figured out a process that works, and you guys will want to see how that comes together. And once that thing is black, kaboom, then it's just time to start sanding for paint.